everybody. My name is Michael Howard. I'm the owner of Musea. So welcome to the live stream. Make sure to tell all your friends. Feel free to post this in your Facebook groups, on Instagram. You just come to youtube.com/Musea. So we're going to go through every single product that we offer here today. So we have a schedule of everything we're going to be doing. So we're going to start out with prints. Then we're going to go through our matting, mounting we offer, framing, canvas, and albums. So this is probably going to last maybe up to 2 hours. It's going to be a lot of information. We want it to be interactive, so please ask questions so that we can help you and then help other people as they're watching. So the more people we can have in, the better. So so we're going to start with prints first. I'm going to go through every single paper type that we offer, and then so if you have any questions about the differences of paper types or anything that I miss, just let me know in chat and we'll go from there. So okay, so first off, we are going to start with luster. So luster for us is has a couple of just simple limitations. One is just size, so we can only do 8x12s or smaller. We see these as a little bit more of a proof quality print or just an economical option. We are known more for our higher quality archival prints, but we can do luster if you're doing them for proofing. If we do a lot of like where people do 5x7s in a box to show clients, things like that. But it's a Fuji paper, and it's all inkjet printing. Everything we do at the lab is inkjet, and it has a slight kind of gloss to it. It's not like a high gloss. It is more like a satin, I would say. But we have a couple examples of color, black and whites. And then as we get going, just any question at all, please ask, and we'll get going. And I'll be sure to answer. So we want to keep it kind of casual. So you can see on the back has the Fuji kind of logo and everything with it. Normally these have a turnaround of like about 1 to 2 business days. If you are matting them or mounting, it could be an extra like day or two, but let me put this way. But yeah, so that's luster. Pretty simple. We do a lot of these when people are doing like 100 to 200 at a time. So the next paper we have is let's see, this would be satin. So satin is a standard paper. So I have 2 standard papers. They are photomat and satin. They're kind of a middle tier paper in terms of price point. Luster is the most affordable. Satin, photomat are in the middle. And then we have archival, which we'll get to in a second. Satin is very similar to luster. So if you need a larger size than 8x12, satin is fantastic. It goes up to 24x36. And it is printed on our Epson printers. So the standard papers and our archival papers, they're printed on our Epson printers, which have a higher quality ink and which will give you just better archivalness. There is the archival pigment ink. There's like nine different inks in the Epson printers, where the luster is a Fuji printer and only has 6. So your color accuracy with the Epson, with every other paper besides luster, will be more accurate and more true to what you're seeing on your computer. Every paper has a little bit of a different characteristic. So the satin is a paper that doesn't have a lot of texture to it. It does have a slight sheen. It is a little thinner than another paper we have I'll show you later, but it isn't a super high gloss. So it's a very nice sheen that will get you higher contrast, so your black tones will be darker, and your whites will be a little crisper. So the contrast is there. It has a little bit of a better dynamic range than maybe a matte paper, which I'll show you in a little bit. Here is a black and white on satin. So your black and whites with satin versus luster will be more accurate. So the satin, anything off the Epson printers, the color will just be a little bit better. And so you can see how it renders. But we do a lot of this. Yeah, so Melinda Love, I see, great question. Is there any texture to any of the papers? There is on the archival papers that I'll go through. These ones at the beginning don't really have any texture. They're very smooth, very simple, but still very beautiful. And we cannot add, there's some labs they can add like a linen texture or some other effects. We don't have the capability of doing that. So the characteristics of the paper just kind of are what they are. So when you're kind of making an assessment for what paper works for your business, I would just go off of that. We don't have any sort of way to like add an additional coating that adds an additional texture on top of that or anything. But great question, Melinda. Keep asking questions, love it. Okay, so that was the satin. Next would be photomat. So this is a matte paper, and I'm going to compare. I can compare some of these. So I'm going to try to do a quick comparison in terms of, see if we can get this in the shot maybe, but I'm hoping this will show up. But the black tones in a photomat are not going to be as deep as the satin. Our camera might be adding a little contrast, so it may not show up as well as in person, but maybe try like a wider shot, like with this front one. Let's see if that will show. So the picture on my right is the photomat paper, satin is on the left. So I'm hoping you guys, it will translate to where you'll see the blacks just aren't quite as deep and dark on the photomat. It's still a very, very beautiful paper though. This is also a smooth paper, the photomat is. We offer this one, we do a lot of this through PickTime, Instaproof, so you can get this as well, which is a couple sites that we're linked up with for auto fulfillment in terms of online web galleries. Photomat also only goes up to 24 by 36. Let me pull a color one. So each paper has a kind of a different longevity range. So luster is going to be the shortest longevity. Our standard papers are going to be in the middle, and then our archival papers, which I'll show next, have the longest longevity. So luster print is going to be about 30, 40 years, unless it's in a dark storage, like a box or something like that. But if you frame it, even behind 99% like UV blocking acrylic, a luster print will still start to fade probably about 30, 40 years. Photomat, you're looking at that kind of 60, maybe to 80 range if it's framed behind 99% UV blocking acrylic or glass, where our archival papers would be up to 200 years if framed behind 99% UV blocking acrylic or glass. Everything will last longer if it's in a box or an album, but we do a lot of wall art, and so the longevity of a print on a wall is going to be shorter than if it is in a box where there's no light hitting it at all. So, but anyway, this is Photomat with a color rendition. It has a bit of a softness to, I would say, Photomat visually. So it will lower the contrast of your digital file just a tiny bit, but that's just a characteristic of the paper. But it's very beautiful. Okay, so okay, may have an internet issue. Okay, sorry, internet glitched out for a second. So this is ultra smooth. This is the archival paper, 100% cotton. They're thicker. This does not have any texture with it either. I'm going to try to compare it with, let's see, like a satin. So this is a satin. Hey, Michael. Yeah, yeah, we had a glitch on the on there for a second. So the ultra smooth is here on my left, and then this side is the satin. So you can kind of see a little bit of the contrast difference there as well. But there's it's a matte paper. We do a lot of the ultra smooth. It's really great for portraits. If you do any sort of retouching on skin where you need something to be very smooth and soft, it's very beautiful. It's like we get a lot of photographers that use the ultra smooth for like newborn or maternity or like studio portraits. It's really, really great for that. Here's a black and white on the ultra smooth. So it's like Photomat but thicker, more archival, a little softer, or just I would say soft like the Photomat. Okay, so next we have Platine. Let's see, Michael, is the satin warmer? I would say no. I would say the satin, that's a great question. So every paper type is going to have kind of a different base tone. They all are going to have a base tone. So some paper's a little warmer than others, some are a little cooler than others. Satin Photomat, I would put a little bit on the brighter white, slightly cooler side of things. The archival paper, since they're cotton, 100% cotton, they're going to be naturally just a tad warmer, typically. But yeah, that's a great question. So the Platine is what we have here. So it is made by a Canson. It has a slight sheen to it, but it does have a little bit more of a texture that you're not going to get with satin or the luster. So I'm hoping this will kind of show some of the texture in these highlights. But you get very deep blacks, amazing contrast. You can see kind of in this area the different tones and the range you can get. So the dynamic range is fantastic. The Platine is like my favorite paper for black and white prints. So if you're doing black and white, I always lean towards Platine because it reminds me of kind of a fiber-based darkroom print. And then this is a color version. Seishu, I'm gonna have to get a sample of each of the image, show my clients. Is there any kind of photograph that you would recommend that would look good in all prints? I mean, gosh, we'd see. Okay, so two things you brought up there, which are great. If you haven't got a fresh set of test prints, you can get a test print box. For $15, you get one of every paper, 5x7s, so that's a great way to start. Otherwise, you can get, you can use a sample code and get larger prints if you need that of the ones you want to show. a lot of our papers I would not say are like extreme in their characteristics, but they do have subtle nuances. So we have people that use all of our papers in all sorts of subject matter. It just really comes down to personal preference. So I mean, we have people that do maternity, very smooth skin stuff on museum etching, which is our most heavily textured paper. And then we have people that would do a landscape on ultra smooth, which is our very smooth. So it just kind of depends on what you like. I mean, I'm not afraid of any type of image going on in any of our papers. There just are little nuances for you to be aware of as a creative, to make your aesthetic decisions and your choices. So I have some personal favorites just based off of things that I like, but not everything I like is what everybody else likes. So yeah, if we're warm toned, yeah, papers in the darkroom are like unbelievable. Yeah, I agree. So this is Platine with color. But you can see it just renders very accurately and just very, very beautifully. Okay, so let's go on to Canson rag. Another matte paper. If somebody told me to describe this paper, I would probably say it's our best overall matte paper in terms of most neutral, in terms of whiteness. Probably has the best dynamic range in terms of deep shadows in the highlights. It has some texture, but it's not like heavy amount of texture. But it does have some thickness and weight to it. So when you hold it, all these archival papers, they have a weight. So when you hold it, they're going to feel substantial. Most clients have never held a paper like this. They've probably seen them at museums, but they're usually framed or behind a mat board. Obviously, you can't touch it and get access to them there. And so it is a different experience for people. Here's, again, another black and white. So I'm kind of showing these to kind of compare and contrast some differences. That's why we're kind of showing some of the same images. So let's go, so let's see. So let me show you the Canson rag and this satin, which we kind of did earlier, but similar in terms of effects. Yeah, Neil. So this paper here is Canson rag. So musealab.com/Canson rag. So this is satin on this side and Canson rag on this side, but just so you can kind of see some of the tone differences. But it's a great, beautiful. We do a lot of frame prints with Canson rag. Next, we got museum etching. So museum etching is our thickest paper. It's going to have the most texture, and it's the heaviest. So when you pick it up, you really feel it. It's also a matte paper. It's also the same paper that we decal. So when we have deckled prints, a lot of people get that. They will get the museum etching. Question, Steve. What paper is similar to Haniel Rag Barada? The Platine is the closest. So I think the Barada is a little more glossy than the Platine. The Platine is like slightly more satin, I would say. But that would be the closest to that. They're very, very, very comparable. So the Platine for sure. This is another museum etching. Yeah, great question, Steve. Keep those coming. But even here, like even with the most texture on this, you know, you can feel it and see it in person, but it's not going to be so much texture on this museum etching. It's not going to like overwhelm the image or anything like that. So Hahnemühle definitely has some image or papers that are more textured. We just don't offer those because they can get kind of a little extreme, I think. So next I want to show decals. These are crazy popular for us. And so this is again on the museum etching paper. We hand tear these. And we offer them in two different options. We have a no border decal paper and then a decaled with border. And so what that means is we shrink the image down to create this white edge, this white paper border. We don't make the print larger to create the border. So both of these are 8x10s. And it's just purely an aesthetic decision on if you like with border or without a border. So we do both of these all the time. And we can even do these in circle. So we'll show you that as well. But these are one of our most popular items for sure. Next, so brought this up earlier, is going to be a test print box. So if you go to musealab.com/testprints, there's a link. You can get a box and see all the papers yourself. So they come in this box. They come with these sleeves, sleeve prints, one of each. But you'll get a decal, museum etching, Canson rag, you know, everything. And so these are great for showing your clients and or just figuring out what paper you like from us. Not everybody, most people don't offer every single paper we offer. They usually pick one or two. Let's see, Steve, can you mat a decal print? Yes, we do that, and we're getting ready to show you guys that in the next segment for sure. Is one decaled style used more than other? I would probably say the no border is probably what is done more than the with border. But we do both for sure. I see enough come through with border that I would definitely never want to like not offer it. But I would say a lot of people really like the one thing with the no border on the decal is when you do tear it, especially maybe images that have a darker edge to them, it can highlight the torn edge a little bit more, where if you're adding the white border, it kind of softens the torn edge a little bit. So it really just kind of depends on how much you want to emphasize that torn edge effect, I would say, basically. So you can make it subtle or you can make it a little more punchy if you do the no border option. So these are, yeah, great questions. But yeah, you'll get a test print pack, and if you flip them, if you look at them, you'll get you'll notice like little subtle differences between the tones, but we label all of them. One way to tell the difference in white or in the whiteness of each paper is if you actually flip them over and then you compare them, you'll end up noticing like, oh, this paper is warmer or cooler. That's the easiest way to tell, is just to look at the back. So that's just kind of a little tip. Okay, so next we've got, wanted to touch on, we can do boutique. We can do boutique packaging with our prints. Whoop. We also get this little card that will give you some information about each paper as well. So boutique is something we do for shipping. There's kind of two ways that we handle boutique. So when we originally launched it, we launched it with this idea of, we had a photographer contact us and they wanted to just do 5x7s in a box because that's what they printed. And so we kind of came up with this. So if we get a order that's just 100% 5x7s, like you cannot have any other print size, any other product at all in the order. But if you do it with boutique, we'll do it this way. So it'll come and this is, the big box here is what it's shipped in. And then we put all the prints in this interior gray box with baker's twine and a dried flower. And then we have a crinkle paper. And then usually on the note, it's hard to see here, but there's a handwritten note you can leave. So when you're placing the order, there's a little box and you'll kind of write your note in it. And then we handwrite it for you and put it in. And it's on also like a torn edge type paper. So it's $15. If you're doing anything else and you add boutique, then we do it like this. So we will wrap it in indented craft paper, baker's twine, dried flowers, and then again, the handwritten notes will be here. And so we can do this with frames, canvas, matted prints, mounted prints, anything else that doesn't fit in that 5x7 box, it'll come like this. On a side note, that computer, can you turn the volume down? It keeps like pinging. I don't know if it's picking up or not, but I just keep hearing the chat support go off. So, but yeah, so that's boutique packaging. So does anybody have any questions about paper types, anything like that? That's all the 8 papers we offer. So if not, we will continue on. So next we're going to go through matting. So we do a lot of matting here at Musea. We can do a lot of custom things. If you email us and ask us if you want something different, we can usually cut it. So we have a computerized mat cutter. So we can do like multiple openings, different print sizes in one mat, things like that. So we have 8-ply and 4-ply, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and the differences and what that is. But we do all the matting for you. So when somebody orders a matted print from us, we mat the print and we seal it and enclose it, and we put it in its little sleeve, and then it's shipped to you so that when you get it and you receive it, it's ready to hand to a client. So you don't have to do any sort of matting. There's no yeah, I'm blanking on the name. There's no slip-in mats. Like, we don't do slip-in mats. So we take a front mat and a back mat and we put them together and we do it all for you. So in that way, we're kind of like an employee for you, a studio employee, to where it takes some of the pressure off of you so you don't have to do any of that work anymore. So the first thing I want to show is the difference between 4-ply and 8-ply. So sometimes people will come to us and they're like, I don't know what a 4-ply or 8-ply is and the difference. So what that is it's the thickness of the mat board. And I'll try to show it here and illustrate it. The 4-ply is half as thin as 8-ply, or you could look at it as 8-ply is twice as thick as 4-ply. You kind of think of it as layers, like every layer is a ply. So 4-ply mat basically has like 4 layers. 8-ply would be 8 layers. I mean, I've seen mats out there with a 12-ply, and it's like the thickest, craziest thing I've ever seen. So very hard to cut, but there's different plies. There's 2-ply, 1-ply. Anyway, you get all into that. So matting is also something that comes in different quality levels. Just like paper comes into quality levels, Matte board comes in quality levels, like glass acrylic will come in quality levels. So everything has a tier to it. A matte board, generally there's 3 types of matte board that just exist in the market or in the world. One is basically like your most affordable, which is a paper-based matte board. And as you can imagine, paper, pulp, things like that, it's going to turn yellow really, really fast, like in just a couple of years probably, sometimes even less than a year, depending on the conditions it's in. So you have paper pulp matte. Sometimes if you're buying bulk mats online, Amazon, something like that, it might be labeled acid-free, but that does not mean it's like archival. That could mean that it's like a cheap mat loaded with chemicals to remove the acid and to change the pH of it, but it's still going to, whatever the material it's made of at its core will win over time. Eventually the chemicals will fade, and the core material that is produced with will ultimately determine the longevity. So you have paper pulp is one, that's the cheap stuff. Then you have conservation matte board. This is alpha cellulose, which is a wood pulp. This is what a lot of labs offer. It's kind of a middle price point. A lot of labs get to say like it's acid-free or lignin-free, which it is, but it's acid lignin-free because it's stripped out with chemicals again. But at its core, it's still wood, which is naturally acidic. So you're fighting against that. And then the highest quality is cotton, which in nature is naturally acid-free and lignin-free. So chemicals do not have to be added to make it acid or lignin-free. Though that's the only thing we offer is cotton. So our matte board is 100% cotton, and then our archival paper is 100% cotton. So that's where the longevity comes in. The other cool thing about our matte boards are it's produced here in the US and it's eco-friendly. So they take fibers that is used for the textile industry, so clothing. So normally that stuff, like the cotton textiles, is thrown away and discarded. They've invented a process where they can take that potential waste and turn it into an archival matte board. So they're not having to use necessarily fresh cotton all the time. They can pull from another industry. So it's archival, 100% cotton, and it has an eco-friendly component to it, which is great. So that's what we offer, and all of our mats are like that. So ply. So I'm going to try to show, hoping I can kind of show a difference here in width. I don't know, would create the best shadow. Maybe this way. So this is 8-ply. This is going to be 4-ply. Normally when you go to like a major museum like the MoMA or something like that, normally they're dealing with 8-ply, which is thicker. 4-ply is typically what most labs use. It's thinner, it's more affordable, but it doesn't have as deep of a bevel, so it doesn't have quite the luxuriousness of it that an 8-ply mat has. It's just a higher quality, more luxurious feel to it because the bevel is deeper, so it's more pronounced, it's easier to see, and it creates a more visual impact. So hopefully we're going to see that. If you can't, let me know and I'll try to show a different way. The other option I can try to show is the thickness in this way. So 8-ply here, 4-ply here. So the front and back mat are the same board in terms of 100% cotton museum board. We don't use a lower quality board on the back or anything. They're both the same board, come off the same sheets. So we take 40-inch by 60-inch sheets and we cut it down. So some of those will be back, some of those will be fronts. Michael, if the mats are crescent, does it have a style number? They are not crescent mats. Different vendor. Is it pure white? Or are you thinking of adding a slightly warm tone mat? Maybe eventually we'll add different color mats. I'm not sure yet on that. I think for us to add different color mats, we want to wait until we update our ordering system and we can add some visualization so that people can see when they're flipping between white and possibly another tone. They can preview that before ordering. I think it's too complicated for us to bring that to market without having a visual component in our ordering system. So I think once we get that kind of nailed down, which is something we're going to be working towards this year, then we can be more open with some different colors. That way people can see what they're building online before they purchase versus ordering, kind of guessing, going off something on our website, and then it maybe not being exactly what they want, and then we're kind of dealing with buyer's remorse in some way. So, but yeah, great question. But I would say anything naturally 100% cotton is slightly warmer. So these have a very subtle, it's not, they look white, but it is leaning on the warm side. I've had other matte boards that have been claimed to be white from other companies, and it's like a cooler, bluer white. And so if you put it against our prints that are cotton, it kind of creates a weird visual contrast that isn't really great. So the beautiful thing about these mats is the mats are 100% cotton, archival prints are 100% cotton, so the tone is consistent and the pairing is like perfect because they're made of the same thing. Okay, so other matting. So Steve, I think, asked a question earlier about decal prints and matting. Oh. So I wanted to show off a couple different things that we do. So here again is, these are 7 by 10 prints in 11 by 14 mats. But you can see, so there's a border, no border effect. So again, this is totally personal preference, whichever one you prefer, but you kind of see the white softens the edge a little bit versus the no border. The other difference between these two is you have an 8-ply mat and a 4-ply mat. And so we float these differently. The build to lift up the print is slightly different in terms of the mat on the outside. So let me isolate this. So this is no border decal print on an 8-ply mat board. And so all this is we have a back mat, we have a 2-ply museum board underneath this, like a little smaller than the print that it floats on top of, and then we have the 8-ply front. So those are the 3 components. If anytime anybody orders a matted decal print, it will come floated within the mat opening automatically. So you don't have to request it. It will automatically come floated like this because we would obviously not want to hide the deckled edge. To reveal this, what we do is we just cut the opening of the mat like a 1/2 inch bigger to make it more open so you can see the edge. Pam, going back to the prints. No problem. If you think of something, we can always go back. Just curious about the decals. See the reasoning behind not offering deckled for the other type. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't not offer it. I mean, we do a ton of black and whites with deckled prints, and they look fantastic, and the clients absolutely love them. I would say the only difference is usually if there's a paper type, it's if somebody has maybe the subject matter, they really have a saturated print or something that has a lot of contrast and they don't want to lose the dark tones, then I usually steer them to like a platine or something because that paper or satin will give you those dark tones. Otherwise, you're going to kind of lose it a little bit with the museum etching. It's a little softer. Any of the matte papers are a little softer. But I wouldn't necessarily steer away. It's just making the clients aware of like there's a slight visual difference between them. Let's see. Clients doing their own framing. Is there an issue with size depending on size of the mat? Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So yeah, it's good to talk with your client. If the client there's a couple options. A client could be framing on their own. Sometimes a client has a local framer that they love, and so that person can do custom framing, and they just need a print. Usually if it's a decal print, a local framer could be able to mount it similar to us, no problem. They would do a great job. If a client is doing to frame something on their own, like they're going to Hobby Lobby's, Michael's, Target, just any store, art store that would have pre-made frames. Normally those are standard sizes, so 16 by 20, 20 by 24. So you can contact us and we can help you kind of determine, okay, the mat size needs to be this to stay within a standard frame size. So maybe the print, could be a slightly custom size for the print if you're wanting even borders. Like an 11 by 14 print in a 16 by 20 mat. The borders are not even on all four sides, for example. There's a little bit of a difference there. So just those are some things to think about. Steve used double-sided tape or glue. We use, for our decals, we use multiple strips of ATG, archival, acid-free, double-sided. It's like tape. Okay, so here's another example of the decals, just for a more straight apples to apples between both are 4-ply, both are 7 by 10 decals, no border with border, sorry. And so if it's a 4-ply, what we do is we add a middle board in the middle. Might be a little hard to see. So we have 3 layers on the 4-ply. So we have a back board, a middle board that helps raise the front mat of the 4-ply. That way the print will sit down inside of it a little bit, and so it can be framed and it won't touch the acrylic or glass in the future. Yeah, thanks, Pam. Glad you like the black and white decals. Yeah, we do them all the time. They're great. They're super wonderful. Here is let me show you guys this way. So circle decals, crazy popular. So we have 4 sizes of these, of circle decals. So you can get 8-inch, 12-inch, 16-inch, or 20-inch. And again, we offer border or no border. This is a 12-inch circle decal with a border, but you could also get a 12-inch circle decal, no border. This is a 16 by 16 mat, 8-ply. So all of our framing, as an example, automatically comes with 8-ply. So if you get a frame print from us, it's always 8-ply because it's the best. You don't have to choose. We just automatically upgrade everybody to that. And it's, a differentiator for clients when they get it, because usually they're not getting 8-ply from usually anywhere unless they're going to like a really nice high-end local framer. And so it just gives you that kind of one step up. It's not as common, and it's something they're going to get in a very high-end situation. Here's another circle decal. This is an 8-inch, no border. And this is again one of those products that a client isn't going to be able to just get online somewhere, so they have to kind of go through you to get it. And it's just unique, but still beautiful and timeless. What we try to avoid at Musea is creating products that are maybe new, but that can be too trendy and not awesome 20 years down the road. So we want to make products that are going to stand the test of time. They aren't going to be like cliche or cringy or something later. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions about matting? We'll kind of touch on more matting topics when we get into the framing section. So if you don't have any other questions, we can move on. But you can always come back to it as well. So we have really quick, we're going to show you a quick little video. We've got an amazing conference that we're working on that's coming up in a little over 2 weeks. We've been working very hard on for months and months and months. and we would love to have you there. You can attend for free, but we want to kind of show you some of the speakers involved, and then I'll talk a little bit about it briefly after that, and then we'll continue on with mounting. Okay, so yeah, so the gathering is virtual online conference. Anybody in the world can attend. It's 3 days. The first day, the 21st, is absolutely free. You can come check it out. There's no really cost or risk for you just to see what it is. You can go to museagathering.com. It's not a conference about business or marketing or sales. It's a conference to hopefully make you a better visual storyteller. We're going to talk a lot about how to communicate visually effectively, how to tell meaningful stories. So I kind of see this as a way to make you kind of have a superpower. So there's two components I feel like as an artist. So one, there's like the commerce side, which is the marketing, sales, that kind of stuff. And then there's the art side, which is just understanding how to tell stories visually, how to find a unique vision, how to create work that when somebody looks at it, they're like, oh, that's a so-and-so photo, that kind of thing. So sometimes it's easy to get only on the art side or only on the commerce side, but if you can do both, that just makes you an incredible artist, incredible business person. I always feel like there's a ton of resources out for the business side that are amazing and they do a fantastic job. And so I just feel like for us, this is a way to kind of push the conversation on the art side a little bit. If you've never been to art school or had those types of conversations, this is a great place to dip your toe in. I mean, the speakers we have are unbelievable. I mean, they're people that have made photo books and they've been exhibited in Europe and the United States. They're in major permanent collections in museums. They've been thinking deep and hard about photography for decades. One of the speakers, she photographed her parents for 27 years and then she made a photo book of it. So it's like 3 decades worth of work. So people like that, you're going to be able to learn a ton from. Like the wisdom that they have is deep. They've been through it. They've had an extremely long career. And so you're going to learn something. So I would love for you to come, museagathering.com. It's February 21st through 23rd. There's going to be live presentations, and I think you'll be really moved. It's going to be very powerful, and it's going to be from a wide range of topics. So yeah, so that's the gathering. Yeah, thanks, Pam. Glad you got to come last year, and hopefully get to come this year. So, okay, so mounting. We've got a few more topics. So mounting is gonna be super simple and short. So we only do one mounting substrate, which is centroboard is what it would be called. Most people are used to styrene. What we do is it's a 3mm PVC board is basically what it is. And that's the only type of material we mount to. We do white or black are the color options. But it's a way to keep it very rigid or flat. I personally prefer matting over mounting. Because matting is more archival in terms of you're not permanently adhering a print to a board. The way we mat things, you could actually take the matting apart and get to the print and remove it if needed and change it out to a different mat. But when it's in this, like you can't separate the print from the mount board any longer. So the board kind of becomes a part of the object at that point. But there are circumstances this is great. And that's why we offer it. We'll get into like framing. There's a situation where we do this specific thing. But this is a ultra smooth print as an example. Again, very soft image. So going with like a soft producing quality with paper is a great combination. So little things like that. This is a platine print. So you can kind of see the sheen, but again, color, you got dark black, so we thought platine would be great for this. You get the highlights of the tusks, so you really want that dynamic range of really bright whites, but really dark darks. So this is a platine print. Yeah, Michael, you said you would need to frame with spacers in the frame. Yes, which we do that, which I'll tell you about that here in a second. So. Any questions about mounting? So very simple. As a reminder, would love for you guys to share this in any photo groups you're in on Facebook, just youtube.com/Musea. Let people know that we're here. Would love to answer their questions. They can pop in. We will have this as a replay available on our YouTube channel, so somebody can go back and rewatch it in the future, but I would love to interact with people live if you have any other questions, and just spread the word, share it on Instagram, whatever works for you. So the next thing we want to do is get into frame corners. So framing section is going to take us a hot minute. We've got a lot of framing. We have a lot of frames. We have a lot of frame styles, a lot of stuff we can do. Framing for us has really exploded in the past 2 years. And so it's becoming probably one of the most popular things that we do here at Musea. So what I'm going to do is go through every single frame corner, frame style we have so you can see it, ask questions about it. And then we'll go into the specific full framed pieces we have as examples. We have 2 lines of frames. So we have standard framing and premium framing. The standard line is a little more affordable than the premium. I'll go into that in a little bit later. Standard framing is, everything's the same except just the frame molding itself. These are frames that are a little more ornate. They're made internationally. It's usually a wood type or wood composite on the inside with like a veneer on top to create the effect. So those are all of our standard framing. If you go to any sort of frame shop, you're going to see a ton of this stuff. So it's very common. We'll go through all of these. If you have any questions about any of the corners, let me know. Styles, things like that. So this first one is Corsica. It's a thicker kind of bronze, kind of dark tone, has some gold highlights to it. It's a very thick, strong frame. A little more on the traditional side. But you can see the corners of it. Very, very beautiful. Next, we have Cypress. This is a taller frame. So off the wall, it comes off the wall pretty good. Modern, thinner, has a little bit of a silver highlight on the inside lip. And then it kind of has this brushed linear effect along the edges. So you kind of get into like, is it wood, is it metal? It's kind of a little bit of a combination of both. Okay, next is Odessa. So Odessa is kind of a medium gray frame. Again, it has kind of some ribbing and curving, a little bit of a silver highlight on the interior lip. But it has kind of a softness to it, like has almost like a matte quality coating to it. But it's really beautiful. Richmond, if you're wanting like a wood frame, this has kind of a slight distressed kind of barnwood feel to it. A little bit darker than Odessa, more of a medium gray. It does have some texture or blemishes, things like that to give it kind of a roughness to it. So it's great for anybody that wants a bit of more of a natural wood where there's some slight flaws and things like that in it. You kind of see the wood grain. Next is Columbia. So I'm going to try to go through these in a certain sequence and stay within similar colors and families. So we're going through a lot of the woods right now. So Columbia is, again, another kind of brown with gray frame molding. I always think of these as anybody that's kind of a woodsman or hunter, those kind of things. Cabins. Savannah, kind of envision this. It could be in the south a little bit. It kind of has like a barnwood. We do quite a bit of this. Has kind of a barnwood feel. Has a lot of flaws. This will have like kind of nail holes, things like that. So it's kind of supposed to replicate like if you literally took it out of a barn and then it got reshaped a little bit. But there's a lot of weathering, kind of a distressed look to this this molding. And then I'm going to introduce a new one to everybody. So this one is what we're going to be calling Venetian bronze. So this is a new frame molding. It's actually available in the ordering system now. Two of our most popular frames are Venetian silver, Venetian gold. So this bronze look we thought would be a great addition because the other line is so popular. It's really beautiful, has a lot of really great warm tones. We made a sample that I'll show you here in a little bit of how it kind of pops with certain tones, but it's really, really great. So these are really popular because it's kind of like, has a bit of a traditional feel, but it's still modern because of the thinness. So this is Venetian gold, one of our most popular selling frames that we offer. We do a ton of this. Let's see, Vienna. Another gold frame, a little more ornate, a little thicker, a little deeper off the wall, slightly more traditional, but it has kind of this filigree with kind of gray backing behind it, which makes it pop. It's really, really nice. If you guys want to see details of anything else or talk about anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to churn through these. This is Corinth, which is another gold. Still, it's like kind of balancing between traditional, but has a modern touch, has a black edge to it on the outside. But it has some distressing and things. Here's another one. So this is a similar with like a black exterior. So I think one of our batteries may have died in our Fuji, so we'll keep going. So this is Sierra. Do you need to come around? Yeah, so we'll get it. Hang on, let me get a battery. Okay, I can keep going. Or I can use the Canon. Okay, we got to change the battery in the tabletop camera real quick. So this is Sierra gold. It's not quite as saturated gold. It has the black edge to it, but it's kind of a scoop on the face of it. So it's really, really nice. This one is Athens. So more pronounced filigree, which makes it a little more traditional, but it's still slightly on the thinner side, so it keeps it a little bit more modern as well. But heavily textured. It has kind of a fluted side. So it's really, really beautiful. Okay, so next, that's kind of all the golds and, no, that's all the golds, yeah. So we'll get into some silver. We have some silver we'll get into. Next is our thickest frame, which is Helena. It has a ton of texture and shape to it, distressing, kind of like an off-white with a mix of gray. We good? Okay, so we're gonna go back to some of the tabletop here. Daisy asks, which frame is considered barnwood frame through picture? The Richmond. Do you know what that one is? The Richmond frame. It's like a gray. It should be in there. It's like a gray simple. It's the Richmond, which we'll pull it again. Yeah, great question, Daisy. So this is the Helena. So this is the Richmond. So if you're a Picktime user, it's probably labeled barnwood, which is this. Okay. Helena is crazy thick and heavy, so it's like 3 inches across or something. So this is Charleston. So Charleston is, again, this kind of distressed white gray mix, but it has a bit of a sheen to it. Some people think this maybe has a matte finish, but it does not. It has a sheen, slight gloss to it. But it's, again, kind of has this like painted, weatherly feel. That glossiness adds a bit of a modern touch to it. Hartford, another kind of off-white weathered wood, thicker, has a kind of a orange underlay, warm tone to it. It's kind of a scoop, curved effect, flat side. Adelaide, this is one of our most popular frame corners. Has this kind of squared repeating pattern on the outside edge. It just angles in the interior. So again, a lot of these are just on trend right now between like balancing kind of a modern but also natural feel with touches of like traditional framing elements. But Adelaide, we do a ton of Adelaide. Yeah, Ginny, the Hartford is really fantastic. This is another one we do a ton of, which is Charlotte. Ton of Charlotte. So same theme of off-white, distressing. It's a little whiter. It has kind of a fluted side. So it kind of has some architectural feel to it, but we do a lot of this. Great for, gosh, we do a ton of like newborns and families and maternity stuff in this. This is a Madison, which is a simple kind of white, kind of rolling design with this kind of interior bead work of the frame. Also really, really great. We get a ton of baby frames pictures with this one. Off-white, Bristol, again, kind of architectural. Slightly distressed. Bristol is the name of this one. And then we have Chelsea. So this one has a really strong silver interior with some distressing on the outside. Again, kind of this fluted side. But you'll see a lot of this like kind of scuff marks repeated. Albany is another one with a strong silver interior. This is more of a bright white on the outside, but it still has that kind of painted brush mark, but it's more of a bright white instead of an off-white. Then we have Naples, which is very just like a metallic. So if somebody wants like a metal feel, it's actually wood, but it has this kind of metal exterior. So if somebody wants metal, a little more modern, linear, sleek, then Naples is a great fit for that. Almost through the standard. So this is Geneva. This is kind of the sister frame to Corinth, which is the gold version. This is the silver version. It's got the black exterior, kind of a warm silver interior. This is Venetian silver, which is again one of our top 5 most popular frames. We do a ton of this. We just did a frame order yesterday that was 5 of these, and then following that, we had another order that had 11 frames in one order with this Venetian silver. So we do a ton of wall galleries with this frame. Because it is thinner, it just allows for more, doesn't take up as much room on a wall. This is a thicker, heavier one, Verona. So it has a bit of a champagne feel to it, but again, a little more traditional, probably a little more European, distressing, metallic feel to it. But it's definitely like a lot thicker, heavier, has some weight to it. But I would say great for anybody that has kind of a painterly style or anything a little more traditional or formal to their work. Yeah, Ginny sells a ton of the Venetian silver, like all the time. Let's see. So this is Aurora. So again, kind of a metallic, but weathered, heavy scoop on the interior, but it has kind of some distressing elements on the outside. This has started to pick up popularity with us lately. And that is all the standard frames. So we're going to show you a couple standard frame examples first, just to kind of break up some of the monotony of showing you a million corners. And then we'll go into the premium frame line. So this is a Hartford frame with a 12-inch circle, no border, ends up being a 16 by 16 interior frame. But I don't know if we can kind of do a top-down view of this. but you can see the 8-ply, the edge, really nice. So it's nice like this image because you have kind of this wood, kind of wood bowl and your gray with kind of warm tones, and so it really goes well with the same colors on this outside. So it's just something to look for, obviously, when you're pairing things. Just kind of stack that up on the wall. Here's another deckled frame. And then Chelsea. You can see that, that interior silver is like really dominant. If there's anything as I go through these you guys want to see again, just let me know. This one, yeah. Is that our last? No, we'll do the Venetian bronze next. So this is a Columbia. So here's an example of multiple prints in one frame. And notice the orientation is different. So you got a one vertical with two horizontals on the side. So if you have ideas for creative things like this, we can do it. It's great to contact us and we can work up a quote for you. But this is the Columbia frame, obviously 8-ply. Oh yeah, okay. So here's another one. So this is Adelaide. So again, with like newborns and babies, like this is really, really fantastic. So these are three vertical 5x7s. Ends up being around like an 11 by 21. So normally what we do for multiple openings, we'll do about an inch in between the images, and this is a 2-inch border on the outside. But this is very, very popular frame. Great if you're shooting a lot of high key, white background type images. Venetian, yeah. So, and then here's an example of the Venetian bronze, the new frame. So, like the sheen of her dress with kind of the bronze of the plant and the other tones in this is why we really like this combination. Also, for framing, we offer two types of acrylic: standard acrylic, museum acrylic. This has museum acrylic in it. They both block 99% UV light. The main difference really is glare. So standard acrylic shows glare. There's no glare reduction, where the museum acrylic has a glare reduction in it. It does not remove it entirely, but it does greatly reduce it. Or if there is glare, you can see through the glare easier, where a standard acrylic, it might be a brighter glare that's harder to see through. Yeah, so next I want to kind of walk you through, when you order a frame from us, you'll get 3 options in terms of matting. And so this all determines the frame size. So try to hold a couple of these up at the same time. So anytime you order a frame, you're usually going to get a choice, but you're going to get a choice between no matte, 2-inch matte, 4-inch matte. So what we do is we start with the print size and work our way out. So we do not start with the frame size and work our way in, because you can end up with weird cropping and really custom print sizes that way. So we start with your original vision, your original crop with the print, and we work out and we build outwards from it. So we do even borders, so you kind of end up usually with custom frame sizes. So this big one on my left is a 4-inch matte. This one is a 2-inch matte. And this one is no matte. Can we get all 3 in? Right? Is that it? Yeah. So these are all priced the same, even though they're different sizes. We do that just to simplify pricing on your side. We used to have it where these were 3 different prices and everybody hated it because calculating all the pricing was really confusing. So we simplified it. If you're doing a no mat, we put spacers. So we do a mounted print and we put spacers on the inside so that the print doesn't touch the acrylic. Obviously, naturally, with a matted print, it's not going to touch the acrylic. But those are your choices. Sometimes we have people that want a 3-inch mat, which we can do, which would be in between these two. You can just request it in the order notes, but we also do that at times. So we'll probably be adding that as an option, as a standard option to our software soon. So we're working on a new ordering system, so I think that's one of the small changes we'll be making to that. Does anybody have any questions about the sizing? So I think this is a 10 by 10 print, roughly, I think. So the smallest one, obviously the frame is going to be a 10 by 10. This would end up being a 14 by 14 frame in the middle, and this would be like an 18 by 18 frame. So it could be an 8-inch print. If it would be an 8-inch print, then you're looking at 8 by 8 frame, 12 by 12 frame, and a 16 by 16 as the largest. So, but that's how that works. So next we'll go through premium frames. So let's see. So premium frames, we have two options. We always have a 3/4 inch wide and an 1.5 inch wide. We have 4 different wood types: maple, ash, cherry, walnut, and these are real wood. So when I say real wood, it's specific to the species of the tree. So the maple is 100% real maple. So a maple tree had to be chopped down, milled, sanded, stained, everything. They're all 100% produced in the United States. The wood is sustainably harvested. The company is very eco-friendly, and so they don't want to like over harvest or do anything to damage the forest. But the advantage is you get a super strong wood, you get natural wood, so you get a natural actual wood grain instead of a fake replicated wood grain, and your edges on these become very, very crisp and sharp. You can find like frames kind of like this at a lower price point, but you don't get the sharp, clean edges. The edges tend to get rounded because of the veneer. They just cannot get the veneer this on point without like cracking or damage. So you get very timeless, classic frames. None of these will ever go out of style. But this is a white maple. We'll go through all the woods at once. So 3/4, 1.5 inch. And these are all priced the same as well. So no matter if you pick the wider one or the skinnier one, same price point. This is satin black maple. Maple is really hardly any wood grain at all. So it's the cleanest. It's what's used a lot in galleries, things like that. This is a dark gray maple. I'm sorry, medium gray maple. There's a dark gray, but it's even darker. This is a medium gray. And then we have a light gray maple here. And then we get into, oh wait, we got one more maple. Then we get into oil and wax. So this is, you really get to see the beauty of the wood, the actual wood in these when we have a few oil and wax ones. So you really get to see the grain and the patterns that it has. So you really get to see like kind of this natural tone into it. But this oil and wax and maple. And then next would be ash. So we have several ash wood frames. So you get to see more of the texture in this than the maple. So I don't know if you can see this, but there's kind of this striped, usually effect of the wood grain, but it's visible and adds kind of that texture to it. Here's a satin black version, still of ash. So all these are ash, satin black. So if you have a frame or a client that wants to see more of the wood, has a little more depth to it, ash is fantastic. Probably has the most visible grain. This is a whitewash ash. So this has probably a little more of like it's a kind of a lighter, can have some pink kind of hues to it at times. But again, you get this really nice, beautiful striping down the sides of these. That, you know, are real and organic, and it's not, you know, machine replicated. Let's see, do we have any more ash? I don't think so. Okay, so next would be walnuts. So this is oil and wax walnut. Which has a deeper, more contrasty grain style to it. But I don't know if you have any like real walnut furniture in your house, it's always so beautiful and classic. This is satin black walnut. So again, has more grain, but a smaller pattern than the ash. A little more of like maybe like a staccato, like I don't know if that would be the right word for that to describe that, but pointed. Ebony walnut, which is slightly translucent, has a little bit of a gray feel to it. This is a special dark walnut, so it's kind of a dark brown stain. Has kind of a warm redness to it. So if you have anything like fall type pictures, anything that has warm tones in it, this always goes really, really well. The next wood type we have is cherry. This is oil and wax cherry. So it's just really to show the color of the cherry wood. A lot of thinner stripes on the face of this usually. Tighter wood grain. So this kind of has like a slight kind of yellow, maybe slight orange tone to it. But again, very, very beautiful and natural. Next we have, I think this is aged cherry, yeah. Fantastic for fall. Like anytime anybody has a fall picture with the leaves turning, like I always gravitate towards this aged cherry. Then we have a black cherry, which is almost black, but it actually has like a deep red, kind of like a mahogany feel to it. So if you have anybody that has kind of mahogany type furniture, or their house has would fit like that, then it's a very deep red, almost black tone to it. And this is just another more red. This is a, let's see, this is a antique cherry. So it has a more of a red tone. So the special dark walnut is more brown, like a warm brown. This is more like just almost red. But again, very, very beautiful. So these are all great depending on what types of images, the scenery you're taking, and kind of pairing it that way. Here's a framing example of the aged cherry, 3/4 inch. 4 5x5 decals, no border. But again, like, you know, these fall, you get the orange fall leaves. This is a fantastic frame for that. So all of these behind me here, all these frames are premium frames as well. This is a satin black walnut, I believe. This is a special dark walnut. You have a light gray maple, ebony walnut on the bottom. These are all 3/4 inch. This one is 1.5 inch white maple, and this is another example of no mat, where we mounted print, it's flush to the edge, and then a deckled, framed deckled print. So if somebody does a no mat deckled print, when framed, we've just put it on the back of a white mat board, and then there's about an inch between the edge of the print and the interior of the frame. Let me see that one. Yeah. Show a couple more frame examples while I got, yeah. So this is a 12 by 18 4-inch mat. Kind of see this pairing. Yeah, feel free to take those off. Yeah, just lift up. There you go. Perfect. This is the oil and wax walnut 8 by 12 with a 4-inch mat. So the matting width is really just a creative decision based on what you want to do. So if you really like the negative space of a white, then this is a great option. This is that oil and wax walnut. So you really get to see the natural wood grain and like tones. And so you get to see like the knots in the wood and different things like that. So it's really, really beautiful. Let's show the two on the right side, the gold one and so we can also do some creative matting with bottom weighting. So this trend has become popular a little bit. You'll see this picked up in magazines or things online for interior designers, but we can also bottom weight things. So if you really love negative space and want to play with that, we can make this as extreme as you want and price that out for you. So this is let's see, I think it's like a 7 by 10 and like a 16 by 16 frame. So we can do a lot of unique combinations depending on what you want, what your client wants, things like that. And then here's another. This is a rising white ash with a decal print, 2-inch mat, deckled with border. Do you have that? Yeah. Do you have the that bronzy one again? I'm gonna show the back of the frame. Kristen, love negative space on the bottom. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, bottom weighting is like once you kind of start expanding into some of the creative matting solutions, which I'll even show some other matting solutions we have here in a second when we get to albums. But it can get really fun and can really set yourself apart as a creative. But I was going to kind of show you a little bit of maybe what's on the back of our frames, so you can see how those are finished. They're going to pull an example for us. Any questions about framing? Framing can be very complicated. Let me know. If you think of something, you can also email us later. So this is a back of what we do for the back of our frames. So we have beehive hangers, bumpers, and then this material is called Tyvek. And so it's a puncture resistant backing. We do not use craft paper. A lot of labs will use a very cheap craft paper to go back here. The problem with that is it will become brittle and it can crack and break over time. So this is something that is tear resistant. Like with your hands, you cannot tear it. And so it's going to last a lot longer and keep bugs and things out of it for a lot longer. But the beehive hangers are great because they've got these little points on the end, and so you just put it up on the wall and you just press in and it puts little marks on the wall, and that's where you put the hanging hardware. And then when you hang it, you have all these kind of holes for options, and so to level it, you can just kind of move it around on those holes until you get it level, or you can move it to the left or right or up or down. So it's fantastic for wall galleries, because if you're off like 1/8 of an inch or something, or 1/4 inch, you can just move it over and you don't have to put more holes in the wall to like correct it. So fantastic. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Gabby. Yeah, the bottom weighted is ton is really fun. And we're starting to do more of that as we show it and show people kind of the capabilities of framing. So next we're going to talk about canvas. So depending on if you have any questions about framing, but we're going to go straight into canvas at this point. So this is our canvas bar. So we get these, we've got the custom made for us. It's a bass wood, is a specific wood that it's made out of. We used to use pine bars a long time ago, but we don't use that anymore. We had problems with the pine like warping and not being straight, and so we would have to go through a lot of the bars and find the ones that were not warping to match them so that it would sit straight on a wall. And they were thinner. So we switched to this. It's thicker. It's very, very sturdy. And so what we do is we cut everything here. We buy these in length and we cut it down to size so we can do custom sizes. If you have a really random canvas size, like we can produce it because we just take these 10-foot long sticks and chop it down to whatever we need. And just like with our framing and our canvas, we dovetail the corners. So we'll glue these and then dovetail them with dovetail keys. But it makes it very, very rigid and strong. So a lot of places probably may not show you what's on the inside of their canvas, but this is the inside. And so we hand stretch it around, staple it on the back, and then we do the Tyvek and the beehives on the back. But we put nothing inside of it. We don't put, I mean, there's been the horror stories of like people opening these and seeing like foam and like really crazy stuff that isn't great for your images. But we don't use that. So it's just this. Let's see. Question. Let's see. Beehive hangers. Is there any special nails for masonry walls? I mean, yeah. So if the beehive hangers are made really specific for drywall. So if you have something that is not drywall, masonry, like so if you're doing brick, plaster, stucco, stuff like that, you can just have us put a wire. You just need to put in the order notes like wire hanger, and we'll put a wire on it. But most of the homes we deal with, they end up going on drywall. But if you have anything else, any other material, yeah, we would do a wire. So you just have to ask, and we'll do that for you. So that's a great question, Lisa. Diane, is the framing complete archival, 100% rag mat? Yes, yeah, Diane, that's exactly right. So it's 100% archival. So mat board's 100% cotton. The back mat's 100% cotton. We only hinge it with like linen hinging tape. The print's at the top so that the print can expand and contract with humidity changes over time so that the print doesn't ripple or warp. And then we have like a acid-free foam board that goes at the very, very back. And then we do point drivers and stuff on the inside. But all of that could be taken apart and you could get to the actual print itself and remove it completely with the linen hinging tape if you needed to. So yeah, it is 100% archival. So great question. Yeah, so keep them coming. So canvas, this is how we do the back of our canvas, just like a frame. But again, if you need a wire, just ask, we'll do it. So we have 4 wrap styles with canvas. So wrap style is what we refer to as the edge here. So we'd have a white edge, and then we have a black edge. So you can kind of maybe see this example here. So white and black, these are kind of one option. And then, yeah, so this would be our mirror wrap. So a mirror wrap is where we take the 2 inches of the side and we mirror it and flip it onto the edges. And so this allows for the image, you don't have to crop into it when it's a canvas, but you get kind of this wrapped effect without cropping in. So we call it mirror. So you can see right here where it kind of doubles up. So that's the mirroring effect right on the edge. But a lot of times with patterns, landscapes, different effects like that, you're not going to be able to tell too much on where the mirror is. It's pretty subtle. But mirrored is, yeah, that's what it is. We just take this strip, duplicate it, and flip it over on the side. And then the last is a gallery wrap. So this is where we actually print the image and wrap it all the way around. But when you do that, it does crop in. So there's no mirroring or anything here. It's just the image wrapped all the way around. But you are going to crop in and lose some of the image. So as an example, do this. So you can kind of see the crop on these is a little different, specifically like her elbow here. You can see how it gets closer on that side. So when you're doing a gallery wrap, you're going to lose about 2 inches into the image. So you just have to account for that. Otherwise, mirrored white or black is a great option if you have any sort of anything tight to the edge. But it's great if you've kind of shot, you know, you're backed up from your subject a little bit and they have some room around them, then the gallery is fantastic. All of our canvas is a matte Hahnemuhle varnish, so we spray multiple coats of the varnish, but it's a matte finish, so it does not have like a sheen or shine to it. But it's very soft, kind of has like a velvet feel. All of our canvas, it's a Hahnemuhle canvas, so it's 100% cotton. It's their Cezanne canvas, so it's also archival, printed on our Epson printers. And hand strap or hand stretched and stapled. So with the canvas, we can still frame them. So all of our premium frames that I showed you earlier, that type of wood and type of finish we can get, but they're float frames. So for example, so they look like a corner would look like this. So it's a L frame, L floater, whatever you want to call it. But they're also dovetailed in the back. This. So they're a 1/2 inch wide on the face. Show you. Woo. Bigger. So it's a 1/2 inch wide on the face right here. But then it's 2 3/8 inches deep on the sides, so it comes off the wall quite a bit, almost 2 1/4 inches. But it's really great with the premium because you really get to see a lot of the wood grain. So it's just very, very beautiful, very natural. And it really can elevate, if you don't like canvas, it can take a canvas and elevate it to a very modern, high-end look. But again, we do the beehive hangers and all of that on the back with this. Thanks, Gabby. Glad you love it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things is the framed canvas. So it's very substantial and thick. So if a client gets this, they're gonna be like, holy smokes, it is a serious piece of art. So here's a newborn. This is our whitewash ash. So it's very soft, has a kind of that kind of pink hue to it. But yeah, what we do is we end up screwing through the back of the frame into the wood, our basswood of the canvas. So it's locked in, it's not gonna move, it's not gonna go anywhere. Yeah, thanks, Gabby. I'm glad the frame canvas is awesome. Yeah, I was the same way too. It's like I've always been kind of a framed print person, but when we put some of these together, I was like, ooh, that's really, really great. So this is the oil and wax walnut. So again, you really get to see those tones and the richness of the wood. These are going to be priced very similar to like a framed print. So with your pricing with us, if you price out our premium frame line, then these will just slide right in there, basically the same price point for you in terms of like your cost of goods. So it makes it easy in terms of being able to offer something at the same price point for a client without them having to like overthink it. So yeah, I think we have one more. Got one more over there. I'll go through these corners really quick too. So just one more. So this is a special dark walnut frame. So again, kind of a warm brown tone. This is an image by Travis Cobb. I don't know if he's watching or not, but yeah, it's really fun to pair some of these like lighter tones with like a darker frame, and you get some really interesting contrasts that happen that really pop. So I'll go through the corners really quick. So this is the oil and wax cherry corner for floating. So it kind of gives you just a better feel of some of the tones we have. Oil and wax walnut. This is the aged cherry. Let's see, this is the black cherry. So very dark, almost black, but still has some red to it. This is an antique cherry. So much more red, still darker, but still very red. This is an oil and wax maple. So some of these you really get to see kind of the tone of the wood a little bit better. But that's maple. This is the whitewash ash. Kind of reminds me of like this landscape type feel. Let's see, ebony walnut. This is a satin black walnut. Yeah, Jenny came by and got to see the framed canvas in person. She's local, so yeah, it's definitely a showstopper. You see those framed canvas in person, you're like, wow. This is a dark gray ash. Comparing that to a medium gray. So dark gray, medium gray, and then the light gray. So those are kind of the three gray tones we have there. Then we have satin black maple, just black, white, simple, classic, no wood grain. Very, very, very strong though. Maple, of the wood types, maple is the strongest and hardest wood. So some woods are softer than others. Some woods are harder. Maple is the hardest wood we have. Where ash is a slightly softer wood, for example. But this is the ash, rising warm ash. So those are all the frame corners for canvas. Any other questions about canvas? Otherwise, we're going to move into albums for the last segment today. So yeah, thanks again just for being here. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope everybody's surviving the winter. We've kind of iced a little bit here this morning, so, but not enough to stop us from coming in. So albums, we have 5 album products. They are handmade by one woman that we work with in Nashville. And so she is a master at what she does. She's can make just about any sort of custom enclosure. Artists from all over the country come to her to make these really unique items. Universities come to her to make editions of books and collections. She's done art shows. She's done book exhibits. She's trained in archival methods and materials and preserving things. And so she doesn't do anything that's not going to last for the maximum amount of time possible. So that's like her threshold. So she's like the best of the best, one of the best custom enclosure specialists in the country. She lives in Nashville, so all of our albums are made by her here locally. She's been doing it for decades, highly skilled. She uses no machines except for if there's a stamping on the cover, but everything else is hand cut and then folded by hand. She's not using machines to fold anything. She's not using machines to glue anything. It's all done with her hands. So everything's very, very tight and clean. Everything we do is linen. So we have linen covers, linen fabric options. So the first thing we offer is of the 5 album products. We'll kind of start from most simple to more complex is how we'll go. So this is a double folio. If all of our album products will come in a bag. So this is a handmade felt bag that she makes for us for each individual album, unless you do a special case outside of that. But if you don't do a case, it comes in a felt bag like this by default. She does the wood button. That's very, very nice. And so this is a double folio with a blackout fabric, and they just fold open like this. So you can either do this, let me lay this here. This can be done horizontally or vertically. This is horizontal. And we do our 4-ply mat board for the interior. And we do archival paper. So you'll get to choose what archival paper you would like. But we have a ton of fabric choices, and we're getting ready to add 2 new ones, which will be like a green and a different blue. But this is a double folio horizontal. As another example, this is a double folio with a case. So this is a slip case on the outside, double folios on the inside. The slip case is optional. It's an upgraded protective case if you want it. She does this archival cotton paper on the outside, and then she can do blind silver or gold embossing on the outside of it. This just slides out. This is an example of a vertical. Add it upside down. So these are 5x7s, 8x10s, 8x10 mats, 5x7 prints. And then you can see here, there's a blind kind of embossing on the cover. So that's the double folio. Put that in there. The next would be our matted slipcase. So it holds 5 matted prints. They come in 8x10. So she builds a slipcase around it. So this does come with it automatically. And what it is it's a little kind of folding envelope she's created. I keep holding it upside down. But she can do the debossing on this envelope. There's different colors of this in any of our fabrics you can use it on, but it's kind of this 4-flap technique. So it kind of folds open, and then you have matted prints on the inside. Here's another unique matting where it's a 5x5 and an 8x10 mat. So we can do pairings like this as long as the print is smaller than the mat. We can do unique things. But this is a great great kind of middle product. So 5 matted prints. Somebody doesn't want to go to like a case that's got like 20 or 30. Or it could be something if you're working with a family repeatedly and they wanted to do something like this every year, and they could have like a volume of these. So it just slides in here, maybe. So that's the matted slipcase. Next we've got, so let's do the museum case. So museum case is what a lot of people would probably refer to as like a folio box or something like that. These come in 2 sizes, and what these do is these just hold matted prints. So this is 11x14. We can also do 8x10 size. Default comes with 10 matted prints, but we can go all the way up to like 20 or 25 matted prints. Once you get around there, it gets so heavy that I would do a second volume. But we can make it. So what we do with this is we do 2 fabric choices. So you get an outside fabric choice, and then you get another fabric choice you can put on the tray or it kind of wraps into the interior. So you kind of can get a 2-tone effect. You can do the same if you want, but you can also vary it and do different. So this is 2 different types of blues, a little lighter and then something a little darker. Again, with the debossing on the cover. Whoop. And ours are a little different. I have to show you different elements of this as we go. So when a lot of times people get a museum case, or we call them museum case, other people get a folio box, the walls are thinner. So what we do is we do a double wall. So it's twice as thick, twice as sturdy. It's going to last for that much longer. Britt also does this 4th wall build to keep it closed. Some places leave that open, and so that creates a tighter seal. So one of the things for protecting prints and heirlooms long term is preventing bugs and things getting in and trying to eat at the paper. So this creates a tighter seal. So this is kind of a 4th wall. She puts paper, cotton rag paper on the interior. But these are just matted prints. Try to find the best way to show these to you guys. So I'll kind of flip through these because there's some creative matting decisions with these. Like this is a 4x6 and an 11x14 mat. So if we really want to create a lot of negative space, just doing small prints, big mats is a way. These are 2 5x7s and 11x14. It goes really, really well. Eight by 10, 11 by 14. By default, we do 4-ply for these. This is actually a square print, but we cut a circle in the front opening. So it looks like a circle even though underneath it's a square print. But that's a way to do something a little bit different, a little bit more creative. There's again some bottom weighted print. And then a deckled, 8x10 deckled with 8-ply, 8x10, 11x14. So that is the museum case. 8x10 size, 11x14. Can max out at like 20, 25 mats per box. So if you got any questions, let me know about that. Let's see. Let's go artisan album. So next would be one of our albums. So we have 2 types of albums. matted album and artisan album. Artisan album is a little closer to like a lay flat style, but we've kind of built it and designed it from the ground up ourselves with our materials. So there's a couple case options with an artisan album. One, we have this kind of a split case design where it kind of folds into thirds. So we have this little pull tab, it kind of folds open. We can also do a traditional clamshell case, which is like the museum case, essentially. It's a clamshell. So, but here, this is a great example of the two-tone fabric. So you get one fabric on the outside, and then you get a different fabric on the inside. So it allows you kind of some creative control with these. Michael. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, great question, Michael, about how do you position these as a product with the folio boxes or a museum case. I mean, it's you can either protect, it's just a way to protect them. It allows a client could take that out because they are standard mat sizes. They could take it out and frame one in a standard frame themselves and rotate it whenever they wanted. So it kind of gives them a rotation potential. Or they could put things on easels temporarily to present things that way. It's just a different way of kind of flipping through. I mean, a lot of times traditionally when a photographer makes a portfolio for a museum or something, a lot of times it's in these clamshell boxes and they keep the prints in those boxes. So it's a little bit of like what fine art photographers do when they're preserving their work for a museum. So that's kind of where it comes from and how they present portfolios, because usually it's one image at a time. So you really contemplate each image versus an album where you can, sometimes people over design and put way too many images on a page, and then it can get kind of too busy. And then some of the great images might get lost that way. So this is kind of a way to like really single out, kind of slow down the viewing experience for people. So let me take this artisan album out. So an artisan album is kind of like a lay flat, like we were saying. And so again, we do fabric on the outside, fabric on the inside. And then she does this kind of doublure, whatever. It's called a doublure process. And so instead of what happens with a lot of albums here is they glue down a piece of paper that goes all the way from this blue side, crease it in the middle, and it's glued all the way to this side. The problem is that seam is going to crack over time. And so with ours, we use a material that is tear resistant, and you cannot tear it, and so it's not going to crack. So 100 years from now, this seam is always going to be in great condition. Where some albums, if too much turning, it's going to crack, and you potentially could have the cover or the spine separating from the book block. So what we do for the artisan album is we print on our Canson rag paper and we crease it down the middle. And so and then we basically use an archival heat activated adhesive to bond the pages together. But there's no like middle board that's stiff. It's just two pieces of Canson rag back to back. So it creates a stiffness, but it's not so overly stiff. We have two design rules though. We do not print across the seam on these because the ink can crack where we score it. And then you notice we don't do full bleed edge to edge. And so that's because the inkjet, the ink would sit on the edge, and if over time with people handling it, it could flake. So just even having a 1/4 inch of a white border on the edges will keep it cleaner and more pristine, kind of like this, where there's a slight border to it. So, and then on the back of our artisan albums, we have a pocket. So this is great for people to put keepsakes. Especially if a wedding album, you can put invitations, any sort of paper material that they had at the wedding. They can store that stuff here. So that's the Arson album. We have several different shapes of Artisan albums. This is a unique one that we invented. So it's a 8x16. I can't remember now. It's such a long panoramic. But because we're doing these by hand, we can do some different shapes, orientation. So we do vertical, we do horizontal. And so this is one of the unique ones we have, which is a panoramic album. So it's an Artisan album, again, with the two different tones of fabric. But it really allows you to play with the design. And just to offer, if somebody just wants something different, they're like, I just want an album that like nobody else has. This is an option for that. All of our albums you can design, the Arson album you can design in Fundy or Smart Albums. Those are the two. You could also do it in like InDesign or Photoshop yourself. But in terms of like the quicker designs, you can do it this way. But yeah, I'll just flip through some of these. But it really allows for some unique formats, landscape images. This is a Nirav Patel wedding. This is in Iceland. So. But yeah, you could show somebody this and they're not going to see it. You know, this is something they're not going to get anywhere else, really. That I know of, anyway. Do you or will you offer the float frame with a fine art print? Yeah, we haven't figured that out yet. I'm not sure how we would do that. I think that's something where we would need to play with some construction type. I'm not ruling out. The only problem with that is for us is doing prints where there's no acrylic is you're going to cut the life of the print down. So like with a fine art print, archival print, you're going to go from like 200 years down to like maybe 80. So it's like over half. And you're not protecting from dust or bugs or anything like that, bouncy balls, that kind of thing. Kid might throw something and bam, if it hits that print, you know, it could ruin it. So it's not protected. So we're not ruling it out. I think for us to get into prints that are where there's no acrylic or glass, I think we need to research more getting a lamination machine so we could put a coating on it and laminate it with like some high-end lamination films. That way it's protected and people can clean it if needed. UV protection would not be as high as acrylic or glass, but it would at least offer some protection from bugs or things hitting the print. You would lose probably a little bit of the texture because you would be laminating over it to seal it. So it's kind of a give and take. We've looked at initially some lamination machines, and some of them, I mean, the cheaper ones is $10,000 to like a really nice machine is like $25,000. So we need to think of multiple uses to invest in a machine like that. So we'll see. We're a small lab, so stuff like that is like a big decision for us. But we're always open to product ideas, and you know, we kind of store it away, and we'll see where it goes in the future. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I need that one. This is an example of a clamshell case for an Arson album or matted print. So instead of that split shell case, this would be another example. It's kind of like a museum case, but it's just for, you could do this also with our albums. So if it's an upgradable option, but it again keeps and protects the album inside for a lot longer. The last type of album I'm going to show everybody is a matted album. So we offer one size of this. So it's 10 by 10, but you can do different depth. So it's either 5 mat boards, 10 mat boards, or 15. We can do any number in between really. So anywhere between 5 to 10 pages, which is 2 images per page. But this is the matted album. I'll flip through it in a second. So the matted album for us is a little unique because some of these on the market are they're matted, but it's like a slip-in mat. So the photographer has to get this, and then they have to like slip stuff in. Where ours are already completely finished, like it's just ready just to hand immediately to a client. You don't have to do anything else. We can also do a few different sizes of prints inside the matted album. So there's less restrictions. So 5x7 vertical, for example, but then we can also do a 5x7 horizontal. So some matted albums on the market I know of, they all have to be all vertical or all horizontal. So we don't necessarily have to do that. We can mix it up. We can also do 7x7s with the matted album. You can do 5x5s. I mean, we could do 4x6s. Anything that really fits inside of a 10x10 space. But you know, you can do a 5x7 on one page, a 7x7 on the other. But it's 1 image per page. Very classic, fantastic for portraits, family sessions, maybe like a mother or grandmother type book for a wedding. Max out at 30 images tops, like that's the most we'll do one, just because it gets way too thick and it starts stressing the binding too much past that. But you could do as few as 10, so 10 images up to 30 images. And that is the matted album. And again, you can do clamshell case or something on the outside of that if you wanted for the upgrade. So yeah. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any last second questions about anything. If you're new to us and want to get started, the best place to start is test prints. So musealab.com/testprints. The step after that typically is going and doing artist proofs. So the test print box is to see all the papers, and the artist proofs is to check your color and your calibration with your editing and your monitor with one specific paper type. So test prints, you see all the papers, you pick one. Let's say you love like the deckled. Then you can do an artist proof on the deckled paper. Tell us what you edit in Photoshop, Lightroom. You'll send us a file. We will make 4 edits of ours, and we will write those edit changes on the actual print itself, whether it's Lightroom, Photoshop, and then we'll ship that to you. So we get 5 prints back, and then you can see exactly what we changed versus your original versus ours. And then you can replicate that change on your side in your software so you can get the exact look. And so this is a great way to see kind of what your original goal was and then some slight tweaks, and you can see how the paper reacts. It's extremely helpful. We've had a lot of great success with this. It's a great thing to do before, if you're new to us, or before maybe it's a huge print or a big frame print and you're just not sure you want the print to look the best. It's a great thing to invest. It's $10 for the artist proof, just to like check to make sure your color and density and brightness is like on point. And then from there, you can order the big print with confidence, knowing that like you nailed your edit. If you want to do a studio sample, we do have studio samples, 25% off. At checkout, you just enter the word sample, all capital letters, and that'll take 25% off your order. We just ask you don't put client prints in there, obviously, but anything you need for your studio. And after that, then it's just regular client orders, and you're pretty much off and running. So we have chat support, email, you can call us if you have any other questions. But we're a small lab, like 7 of us here, and yeah, we like to get to know our clients and work with you one-on-one. So yeah, that's it. We just thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to check out the gathering, museagathering.com, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot for watching.